month long, a lot of us have been doing No Spend January together. And if you haven't, don't worry about it. You don't even have to click out, because maybe down the road this year, you might try a no spend challenge. And this video is going to help you transition smoothly out of it after having a little bit of a intensity toward saving money all month long. And what we don't want is for us to go in reverse, kind of like, I've told you this before, when I start eating healthy, start losing weight, I think, I'm skinny, I did it, I'm done. And then I start letting the old habits slide back in, and the next thing you know, I'm right back to where I started. So we don't want you to do that as far as your finances go. All month long during a no spend, we've taken some small and some really large strides in our savings habits. How are we going to end no spend without going nuts this upcoming month and overspending? Let's talk about it. Everyone is going to go about this a little differently. So this video, we're gonna discuss some ideas, some thoughts. Of course, I had to put out the question to the K Squad, how do you plan to strategize the end of your month? How are you planning to go into the next month without overspending? And I am so happy that many of you participated in the community post that I put out here on YouTube. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a few of them. We're gonna talk about these ideas, and you can decide which ones are gonna work for you, which ones are not gonna work for you, and do you have a brand new strategy, a plan of your own that you already have in mind of how we're gonna smoothly transition out of a no spend month so we don't overspend coming out of it. Remember, the purpose of a no spend month is to make some progress in your savings. It's to become mindful of your spending habits. And it's also very beneficial to do this at the start of the year so that we start off the year on the right tone, especially if you have savings goals and financial things on your mind that you want to get set up for this upcoming year. So we start off the year being mindful, being aware of our habits so that we can start the new year on a high note and keep it going. Pardon me as I look to the side on my computer so that I can read the comments. Connie says, I made a wish list. I'm trying to train my brain to not spend until I need something. For example, I could really use new sheets. It goes on the wish list for when I really need new sheets. Or I could really use new shoes. Me to myself, she says, how about we experiment with putting together some outfits with the 25 pairs of shoes we already have? Connie, I love that. So I do think that Connie has a really good idea of keeping a list, and several of you have let me know that that is what you have been doing. And in fact, I have done that myself. I have a very short list. I just kind of noted when there was something that I would have maybe purchased if I weren't in the middle of no spend January. But honestly, for me personally, I didn't have a lot of things that I wanted to buy. I'll talk more about the thing that I missed the most in a couple minutes. But I think Connie has a really good idea, and maybe you've been doing this too. Let us know in the comments. Have you been keeping a little list of things that you possibly want to get as soon as no spend is over? You might even find that you wrote some things down and now you've had a little time in between, and now it's not so urgent or tempting because you've already gone without it. Maybe you really don't need it anyway, but maybe there are a few things that you are definitely like, when it's time, I'm getting that. And that's great, because then it's just making you more mindful, and it means you really need it or want it. The next comment comes from mo.vintage15. I have to say, thanks to your channel, I've had lots of eye-opening moments this month. It has made me stop automatically jumping on Amazon to purchase things that the family even whispers might help or could use. I was in the middle of doing it the other day and actually stopped and asked if there was nothing else that could be done and accomplish the same thing without buying anything. Sure enough, there was. I don't think I was ever prouder of myself than at that moment. So thank you. Mo, that is awesome. That is, I don't know if that's really your name, Mo. I'm sorry, I'm calling you Mo, the screen name. Mo, this is so exciting that you were able to stop. Again, this is another whole big benefit of no spend January. In the past, she might have looked at this and was like, oh, I'm just going to spend because the family needs it. They mentioned it. I'm going to get it. But now she's thinking of solutions like, maybe we don't really need to buy this right off the top, right off the first mention of it. I think that's something that some people automatically kind of do. We get in the habit of it. Oh, the family needs it. Let's do it. But you're being very mindful and you're thinking, hey, do we have an alternative to this? Do we really have to spend the money? And you nailed it. So proud of you. Great job. Next, Sarah says, I like the idea of a limit to purchases, such as spending on no more than 3 items within February. So that's an idea. If you're coming out of no spend January and you're used to buying nothing, maybe in February, if you're a person that is looking to kind of continue this vibe and you don't want to overspend on things you don't need, maybe coming up with, like she said, 3 makes her feel comfortable. Like 3 is an idea for her. Maybe you are a person that'll be like 1 thing a week instead of 5, or I'm going to get 1 new thing this month, or 2, or whatever makes sense for you. That's an idea for sure to continue a low spend, not a no spend. I've shared with you guys in the past that I kind of budget kind of seasonally. And for me, I do January is no spend, and then February, March normally is like a low spend. So I think that is definitely a strategy we could try, or anyone that sounds interesting. You could just kind of not go off the rails, but say, okay, I'm going to add this in this month. I'm going to make a couple new purchases, and that's going to feel good. Angie L says, I have the opposite issue. It's hard for me to start spending again. I have to ease into it. I will have to do a big pantry shop because I'm running out of some things, which is good because I'm doing a pantry challenge alongside this. Many of you are doing pantry challenges kind of to help with the no spend, and it's just a good way to clear out the pantry, use everything you've got. But I will be more mindful about the kind of content I follow on YouTube. That really helps. I've also picked up a lot of reading again, and that gives me something to look forward to in the evenings. I can run right home to pick up my book instead of shop. I love that Angie now has books that have come into her life. So now instead of going to spend, maybe she's getting books from the library, and that's something she really looks forward to instead of sitting at her computer at night shopping, as many of us have done or possibly still do. She's finding something that she really likes instead. And I think during No Spend January, that's a time where people find alternatives to shopping, because that's part of it. You know, we're finding things that we like to do instead of spending money. And that's great that she's going to continue on with that in that form. She also brings up another point about the having a hard time starting spending again. There might be some of you that feel a little weird about spending right out of No Spend January, because you're going to start to become accustomed to it, and you might even kind of relate it to like something you shouldn't be doing. And I don't want you guys feeling that way. I don't want you to feel like you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, because we all have different budgets and we all have different goals. So I can't tell you whether what you're doing is right or wrong necessarily. You've got to evaluate for yourself what is going to work for you and your family. But I like that she's thinking about, okay, she has the actual opposite problem. She's not going to overspend. She's not even sure if she's going to spend, you know, but she is prioritizing. She's saying, okay, the pantry is definitely something that needs to be restocked, something we need, and that's going to be beneficial to her and the family. Holly says, my husband and I will be setting up our February budget soon. Reminder, it's time to start thinking about that, guys. It will reflect our goals for 2024, fully funding our Roth 401ks and saving for a new to us vehicle. January no spend is a reset month for us to get back into good habits. This month, we are refilling our long-term emergency fund after an expensive move. We are viewing this month as the launching point for the year. Holly, I love that you are taking this no spend as a launching point. I think many of us that are watching this are doing the same kind of idea. It's our starting point, but I like that it's our launching point. That's an even better way to put it, because it's really going to set us up to launch into this new year on the right foot. Speaking of what you do with your no spend money, I love that she's refilling the long-term emergency fund after an expensive move. I'm sure many of you are thinking right now, okay, what am I going to use this money for? How exciting, right? To think like I've got a little money saved. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to use it for? What will be its highest good? It's very exciting. Crystal says, you already talked about this, but I think we're going to only spend on weekends in February and maybe continue doing that through 2024. So in a previous video of mine, we've talked about different ways to do no spend. There's the no spend month. There's the no spend year. I'm good in sprints. I'm good in short term. That's why we're reading the 12-week year. I can do that in that shorter bursts, but a whole year to me, for me personally, is not going to work. Some people, it works amazingly. For me, I like smaller, shorter bursts. So a month's probably the most I would ever do for no spend, me personally. But I also do no spend days, no spend weekends, there's no spend weeks. Like you can do it in smaller forms that are effective for you to ramp yourself up, to do small little launches in the right direction. But that's obviously up to however you like to do things, you know? So I love that Crystal's thinking, you know what? I'm going to only spend on weekends because during the weekdays, maybe she's busy, she's working, she's packing her lunches, she's making her coffee at home, etc. I'm making this up, but you know what I'm saying? Like you might during the week be just fine. And then on the weekends, you want to spend a little. Do what works for you. I love this idea. D. Bart says, hello, we are just going to continue to stretch the no spend as many days, weeks, months that we possibly can into this new year. January is going pretty good so far. I hope everyone can reach your savings goals. Stay strong. Thanks, D. Bartz, for that encouragement. Some people are going to keep it going into February. I've had many people share with me they're going to try another month. If that is something that you are excited about, go for it. Do whatever it's going to take to reach those savings goals for you to feel excited and for you to move the needle in your finances. There's so many ways we can go about this, right? Next is Shelly. Shelly says, actually, I'm going to continue with my no spend for books and very low spend with everything else. Saving up for new windows, she wrote in parentheses, 30 years old for my home. So far, going great, one day at a time, but we'll set aside a little money for my birthday next month. Happy early birthday, Shelly. My birthday is next month too, February 2nd, Groundhog Day. When is yours, Shelly? But so she's doing no spend for books. Maybe that's something that Shelly normally spends a lot on, and low spend for other things. So you can mix and match this any way that makes the most sense going forward. Just remember, I'm just trying to encourage you guys. There's no one way to do this. There's no right way to do this. It's your way, and it's the way that's going to work for you. Lynn Allen says, I'm nailing it this year. I'm going to do it again in all the months that have 31 days. So March is next. That's an idea, Lynn. She's going to do every month that has 31 days. That's going to be a no spend. If it doesn't have 31 days, it's not a no spend. That's another great idea. I love how creative you guys are and the things that you come up with. I know you guys probably have so many more ideas. If you are watching this, please leave in the comments an idea that you have of how you're going to end no spend January gracefully, or a no spend month anytime that you're watching this and you're doing a no spend. What's your plan? I can't wait to read more comments. Thank you to everyone who participated in that post. There were more, but I couldn't get every single person in a video. I would love to, but this would be 7 hours long, right? Okay, for me personally, I know you guys always want to know my take at the end. So I'm going to tell you, the thing that I've missed the most is being able to just on the fly go grab food once in a while out. You guys know I don't go out to eat a ton anyway, but like sometime I'm just like, oh, I just want to go grab a Subway sandwich. I'm like, no, don't have a gift card, not doing it. Like I kind of miss that. But I also shared with you in the live that the live we did this weekend, I was saying that I'll say to Kaden, like I want to say to Kaden, hey, do you want to go get, this is my son, Kaden, by the way. I'm like, do you want to go get something? And he almost always says he wants to eat at home. He's such a good influence on me. And like I said, I don't go out to eat all the time by any means, but he even is one more extra layer of encouragement to stay home because he loves to eat at home. So that helps. But I do miss just having the option. And again, I've imposed all these rules on myself. So, I mean, you know how it is, but that's the thing I probably miss the most is just being able to go out to eat or say to a friend, hey, do you want to go get dinner? Because I'm not doing that right now. So I am going to look forward to that in February. It's also my birthday month coming up. So going to see some people, have some food together out somewhere, not at home. When you're planning for next month, if you are doing what I do, I always do a unique monthly budget for the upcoming month. So right now is a great time to be planning for your next month. And when you're setting the budget, just be mindful, like you just were, of what did you actually really miss? What were you fine doing without that you were actually kind of were surprised that actually this wasn't even as bad as I thought? Be applying all these reflections for your future budget so that you have a really great next month, but you prioritize what's important, you minimize what's not, and you have the best budget you can going forward. Inevitably, I'm going to get a message from somebody in the next week or two that saved $1,000 in their no spend, and then they doubled that in spending next month. That doesn't have to be you. I know that people sometimes, when you are used to doing something and then the parameters, the boundaries are lifted, that we go in reverse. I'm going to just encourage you to take a deep breath and rethink what you're about to do if you feel yourself in that position. Sometimes old habits die hard. I get it. Been there for sure. But just think about all the progress that you've made and think about that money that you have been able to save up and what you could do with that and how that could benefit you or your family, and try to focus on that instead of going in reverse. That doesn't have to be you. And I have great faith in you that for most of you, it's not going to be you. You have worked so hard and you've been so mindful and you've created new habits and you've really respected yourself and your decisions. And so, guys, I'm so proud of you for everything that you have done in the past month and how you've kicked off this year in such a great way. And even if you've had some setbacks and some flat out fails, I'm still proud of you. You rock. This no spend challenge is coming to a close if you're watching this real time. And sometimes it's really fun to reflect on what happens after an experience like this. So I'm going to have you watch this next. This is actually called 5 Unexpected Lessons from No Spend January. This is the video I made last year. It's going to be interesting to watch and see, do any of you feel this way? Check this out. And when you watch that video, let me know in the comments on that video if you had similar revelations or if you had new ones all of your own. I can't wait to read them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye, guys.